Hey
Ah,
guys! Hello, welcome to our second live show, our second podcast, videocast actually here at Konektera. I would like to welcome everyone here, my co-host, as always, Marco Candi, and our special guest, Diego. He's gonna introduce himself, but just to give you a sneak peek, he's one of our very best inside salesmen here at Konektera, selling international tech here in Brazil. So, hey Marco, what's up? What's new?
hi guys, very happy to be here again. I love the shows. I love to be with you. Today we're gonna talk about an amazing subject, how to talk to decision makers in Latin America. As you know, here we have huge companies with a lot of money, and they wanna buy good technology. But sometimes it's hard to talk to the guys that really take the decision. So Diego here is doing this for a long time, me and Ramon as well. So we're gonna teach you the tricks to be able to find those persons. And in Latin America, if you don't talk to decision makers, you don't sell. So this is the beginning of a new journey of sales, and I'm very excited. Welcome, Diego. If you can introduce yourself to everyone here, it will be amazing.
Hello, guys. Thanks so much for the invite. Thanks, Ramon. Thanks, Marco. Thanks, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here with you guys. If you are in YouTube and LinkedIn as well, I think, and or even listen to our podcast, it's really helpful to have you here. If you have any questions as well, we're here to help you. Basically, my name is Diego Mangabeira. I'm based in Brazil, and I think I work in this area for already 18 years with sales, with human resources and marketing, supplying my own company because I'm business owner as well, but other companies as well, multinational companies from US, from Europe as well, supporting Latin America for other clients as well and other projects. And we're going to talk about that today, and specifically saying about Brazil and LATAM. Yep.
Perfect, Diego. Perfect. I know that you wrote several books about mindset and mindfulness and how to be resilient. And I think this is a great connection here because to find those decision makers, you have to be very resilient, right? In Latin America, you have to have a good mindset. So to
Mhm.
start the conversation, I would like to ask you, like, what's the mindset that you have to be able to find those people and to book those calls, those meetings, and introduce your product.
Amazing. Yes, I really agree with you, Marco. Mindset is one of the things that makes it's a game changer, I would say, because when you have a rich mindset or even a poor mindset, we could say about Robert Kiyosaki, he Rich Dad Poor Dad, for instance. I'm a bestseller. I already have 13 books in Amazon. I'm Amazon bestseller as well since 2006, if I'm not 16, if I'm not mistaken. But in a basically what that is about, everything that you do in a daily basis, even not professionally saying, is related to the mindset, to your mentality, what you do in a daily basis, your habits, what you share, what you comment, social media, your family, your daily activities. So when you look for a positive angle of things, you can work in a better way. And focusing our discussion today, when you have a rich mindset, receiving a lot of no's because of decision makers in Latin America, Brazil, saying no every time. We could say that this could be something to leverage your results, or even to be accepted as a failure.
Mhm.
You have two ways in a daily in your day. You can accept your failure, or even decide to use that as a weapon, as a leverage. So that's the difference between a rich mindset or a poor mindset. It's up to you to define it. It's up to you to pick the right choice. But as we are talking here, discussing about mindset, you are the owner of your life, of your professional, of your career, or even if you're enter Latin or Brazil and you need some help, we can help you, because everything that we're going to share here is related to mindset. Mhm.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, I really agree with you. In Hebrew, we have an amazing word that is kavana, and in Sanskrit as well, it's sankalpa, and they both means an intention that comes from the heart. So I always think that to be able to book calls and close business and find the decision makers before you book those calls, before you send that email, before you pick up that phone, you need to have a good sankalpa, a good kavana, a good intention that, you know, I'm gonna help this person a lot. He's begging to have a call with me because my product, my service will help his company a lot. So I really
Mhm.
agree with you that mainly in Latin America, where relationships are very important, when you have the good intention to build this relationship
Mhm.
and to attune yourself to the other, to think what is the other wants, what is his needs, what is his mindset, what he's wanna solve, and then book this call and then write that email, very personalized. So I really agree with you.
Amazing, amazing. I would like to add something as well. I think mindset is a key element, and as Marco said, there's a word with Hebrew. It's very similar. It's but, uh, is one of the core values here at Konektera. Uh, and mindset it's something that's on sales, right? I'm still focusing here in our conversation,
Ramon, your
talking about
audio is a little is cutting a little bit. Uh,
have connect issues.
yes. Try to see if the connection is not good, and I will continue.
Okay, I'll be back.
I will continue
Go ahead, go
with
ahead.
Diego. So to be more practical, like we talk a little about mindset, to be more practical, what do you think is the difference between uh, booking a meeting with a decision maker in let's say the US or Israel or England and Latin America?
Yeah, great question. I think most of people has that have that question. Now, I would say that is more related to the way we do business, right? It's related to the culture. We could say it about the language. We could say it about colonization, but everything that we are going to say is related to the way we negotiate. Okay, I think the word could be negotiation. Even if you, I remember that I was in college, university, and I had a discipline there, a subject that was related to international negotiation. So when you are comprehending, when you're studying with humbleness, I think is really important. Humility, you can understand that Brazilian people, or even Latin America, Colombia, Mexico, or even other Chile, other countries, we had a whole history different from Europe, from US. At the same time, we are more sensitive, we're more emotional, but we are more creative. When we compare, for instance, our Latino culture, or even Brazilian culture, with Asian Eastern culture, we're really different, because uh, Eastern cultures, they are more, they tend to prioritize discipline, or even the repetition of things. Okay, you
Hmm.
can see in Japanese culture, or even in other Eastern culture, but at the same time they can produce that at the same way. But when we talk about Latin America, we can say that we are really creative. We have a bunch of ideas, but I think what we can learn with American people, or even Israeli people, or even European people, are related to the action plan. We're not so good at that. That I think is the most favorable. Even we are analyzing a SWOT, okay, strengths, weaknesses, or opportunities and threats. I could say that Brazilians are really good, or Latin America is really good to create ideas, but at the same time not to improve them, or even act in a different way. Or even imagining a business case, we create a new stuff, we do not patent that, and American company just decide to patent that product, so we lost an opportunity. So basically, I could say that it's different, but at the same time I think we have some pain points that we can help them, because we're really creative and focus on the problem. I would say that Brazilians are like that, Latinos are like that, Latin America is like that.
Ah, excellent. Very good, very good. And I think in my period doing as well, talking to decision makers here, and we have a big database, a big connection, a lot of connections here as we are doing this for more than 10 years. Um, but one thing that I learned is the communication channels are very different from the US. Many times I booked calls through WhatsApp or through other channels that are even Facebook, even other channels that are not common in US. So what I used to do was to always try to get the WhatsApp of the person in their email, in their LinkedIn, so I'll be able to have this more personal communication with them and book these calls directly through the WhatsApp. And here people use WhatsApp not just for the personal, but also for their business life. So they are always there with their WhatsApp open in their computer. So it's much more personalized and easier to talk to those decision makers. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Imagining that WhatsApp is even. I remember that I was looking for user usage of the social media platforms. I remember that I was taking a look about what is famous in US, what are more used in US or even Europe. I remember that in US is more common to use Facebook Messenger or even SMS or even text messages. In Israel is the same, or even Europe they use that. LinkedIn as well. We are more accustomed to use, but in a personal basis, in Latin American Brazil, we use more WhatsApp. It's really strange because if we see outside Brazil or even outside Latin America, it's not so famous. Or even you see Telegram, for instance. Telegram is having a lot of increase in terms of market share, but at the same time, is nothing compared to WhatsApp. But even there was a news that was released last week that Salesforce just unite the force their strengths with WhatsApp, from Meta, from Facebook, just to develop a new app. I don't know what's about, but I know that Salesforce is one of the biggest CRMs that we have today when we are recording this podcast or this video. So if Salesforce is watching WhatsApp as a strength, we need to take a look at that because
Yes.
WhatsApp is really famous in Brazil and Latin America, not in US or even in Europe or Israel. So yeah, something's changing.
Amazing. Ramon, welcome back.
Hey guys, some connection issues. Can you guys hear me well now?
Yes, yes.
Yep. Yep.
Amazing, amazing. So I'll rejoin our conversation. Sorry for the technical problems.
No worries at all. We're talking about how to find those decisions. We talk about the communication channels, right, Diego? But how do we find them in Latin America? How do we find, for example, give some tips to the people if they want to find the decision maker in a big bank or in a large university? What would you suggest? How do you suggest they start?
Perfect. That's good. I would say that we can use the same channels that we could use for prospecting US or even Israel or even Europe or even Asia. That, for instance, we can start with LinkedIn. We can start sending mails because I remember that I was early adopter of LinkedIn. I have my account since 2006. No one was there. So today, as we speak, LinkedIn is the biggest professional network, but we cannot say that in 10 years ahead. So this is what we have today. So today, I think if we're talking about decision makers in Brazil or Latin America, we can start with LinkedIn. But at the same time, like you said, the way to communicate is different. We could approach not just the decision makers, but we can create something like a network because it's really hard for even if we prospect US or even Europe decision makers, European decision makers. We need to we won't have some trouble to prospect a CEO, a founder, if it's an
Mhm.
enterprise size company. So basically, we need to jump a little bit, or even to decrease the hierarchy. We need to talk to managers, VPs, or even try a whole bunch of network, not just one person, but I would say 5 to 10 people from the same corporation, just to try to have a conversation. And in Latin America is the same, but there's something different. Even we're going to discuss that. But as soon as we start our conversation, this is just beginning, because it will take a while just to close the business because of the cultural differences. Yeah.
Can I add on that? I have a story to share on that experience of finding decision makers. I guess here in Brazil, it's similar in Israel. This in the sense, I guess there's a lot of who are you and who do you know. Who do you know? Who recommends you? Who are you? When I lived in Israel, I had to have a mentor just to tell employers that he knows me and that he vouches for me and that I'm a good guy. Because if not, they won't even consider the person for the job. So I
Mhm.
think in Brazil this is kind of similar. I guess in many places in the world, there's a
Mhm.
lot of who are you and who do you know. So as Diego said, when you try to broaden your network and try to talk to managers, directors, even sometimes interns, then you can mention them and then say like, listen, I was talking to him, I know him, I talked to
Mhm.
this other guy in this other organization, then he recommended me to talk to you. So
Mhm.
I guess leveraging names and people, it's pretty important here in Brazil when you are trying to reach a decision maker.
Mhm.
And everything works. You don't need to personally know someone to be there to get there. I'll tell
Mhm.
you a short story. I was working for a very big ad tech, international ad tech, and I was starting prospecting in Brazil. I wanted to sell to Estácio. Estácio was the biggest educational group in the world in terms of a number of students. And I didn't know anyone there. And if you go to the website, there's no info at all. You cannot talk to anyone basically. So what I did is like I sent an email to the general email address, like contact@stasio.com, from my personal email, and I was like searching for someone to connect, anyone. So I was like, I want to know who is responsible in the university for that specific subject. And they forwarded me. Three, 4 emails later, I was there talking to the decision maker, and I could leverage. Listen, I already talked to Lillian from the reception. I already talked to Jonathan from purchases. I already talked to this and that, and then like she felt that she already knew me. So I guess like don't be afraid of trying stuff out of the box, and don't underestimate the power of name dropping. I know this, I know that, I work with this, I work with that. I think it's pretty powerful here in Brazil. Peer pressure.
Very good story, Ramon. I think I agree with you. One thing that I used to do a lot is writing in the titles of my email, who referred me to this person. So I want to talk to the decision maker of Riachuelo or Coca-Cola in Brazil. So no, João referred me to you. Of course, when I was really referred by someone, I'll never lie, right? But this was a great. They always open this kind of emails. They always answer like referral from and someone from their team, right? This is a killer. They always
Or
open.
even
They
for
always
from a
answer
competitor, right?
even from a competitor. So yes, I totally agree that here in Latam this is very important. I think it's called nepotism, if I'm not mistaken. Is the feeling where you need to know someone, or you need to know someone from your family or from friends of friends, so you approve this kind of person. I think that's the technical word for it, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. Amazing,
Interesting.
Diego. So, very interesting. So, what would you suggest now that we found the decision maker, we found the right person, we have his contact, we have a referred person? What do
Mhm.
you think is the difference, or what's the tip for the messaging itself? what would you send to this person? You told everyone is on LinkedIn. In Brazil, this is true. We use a lot of in Konektera. We use a lot of different tools to find those contacts and to be able to talk to them. And we have a big database. Once we find them, what we should say to catch their attention?
Perfect. Great question as well. And imagining that we're not just sending message, but we are talking to other person, right? So, in even Brazilian culture, even Latin America is different the way that we do that. I was going to brought something that Ramon said that we like to help in Latin America. We like to help. This is something differently from American culture, or even European or Israeli culture. I would say that we are friendly, but that's not a reason to not be professional or even not to just to being formal in your messages. So when you are messaging people or even decision makers, you need to take a look and of whom you are sending that. Okay, what's the main proposition of your message, and not just that, because you need to think about consistency. You need to understand that you are going to receive a lot of hard no's. Okay, and you need to understand that's not the end of your professional career, because most of the time, as sales or even marketing guys, or even increasing in understanding about the business in Latin America and Brazil, you're going to receive a lot of no's, more no's than yeses. But at the same time, that just bring you to understand that this is not for everybody. Okay, you need to be prepared,
Yeah,
because even in our today, after pandemic, even before the pandemic, COVID, we are sending more messages. People are more gathered in social media, and sometimes you are not going to receive any answer. You need to be prepared to that. And in Latin
yeah,
America is different, right? Because
resilience, right?
yeah, resilience, because
Resilience.
we tend to use that as a impersonal way. He didn't receive that, he didn't respond me, and you need to calm down a little bit to understand that he might not have a time to respond to you. She didn't have a lot of time to respond to you. Not to uh, involve emotion, because I would say that emotion is one of the things that we have in differently from other cultures as well. We tend to mix that, and
Yeah.
when we are sending that messages. So I would say that do not just try one source of messages, but try emails, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, phone calls. Okay, they work, they still work. You can try to call the person. Okay, yeah, I would say that try to create more option instead of just thinking about the mindset, a mindset of scarcity, that the person is like that. No, stop complaining. Try to create different options, than you are having more abundance even in your pipeline.
Amazing. This is very very interesting, and we see that what you're saying here is actually on the best practices of sales nowadays. I guess the world's much more transparent, so you cannot like trick your customer like you used to. You have to be fully transparent. You have to be willing to help him. Is actually the sales is now they call like a consultative sales, like it's like a consultancy thing. It's
Mhm.
much different now, and I think what you're saying it's very in line with that. And also touching another point, you mentioned about a multi channel approach. You talk to him via LinkedIn, via email, over the phone,
Mhm.
and it helps you create a deeper connection with your prospect. This works
Mhm.
everywhere, and like you said, especially in Brazil, people here are willing to help, like you said, and I agree with you. So we can leverage that, and we also are willing to help, so we can help each other out and leverage that to get to a yes and to get to a signed contract.
Mhm.
And you can use that. Like people here in Latin America, they have a hard time saying no. So you have to understand your own no's. And then you can use that to move forward the deals that you want, and you can use that also to discard those deals that you don't want.
Mhm.
So I guess it is culturally very different, but in
Mhm.
some ways we're also adapting and applying a lot of the best practices that we learned from sales in Israel, in the US, in Europe, that we've done in our lives. and
Hmm.
we just adapted it to a Brazilian style of
Hmm.
sales. And I guess everything that you're saying is very, very interesting.
Hmm.
Particularly for myself, I really find connection in those in sales because of the psychological effect, like the psychological side of it, I guess. I like to understand how people think, and I guess like exploring those subjects like we're doing in our lives.
Hmm.
Particularly for me, it's very interesting, and I think it's very helpful for every salesperson in the world. Uh, Go ahead, Marco.
Amazing. No, no, amazing. Very good discussion. I think to finalize our conversation, I think I'll put a very obvious subject for us that are in Latin America and live in Brazil, but maybe for people that are watching us from Israel, from United States, is different. But you know that just 5% of Latin America speaks English, and
Yes.
most of the decision makers, no, they will say no, the CTOs, the CEOs of the companies, they do speak English. That's not true in most of the cases. So what do you guys think about that? Is it fine to message people in English itself? What should be the conversation in how what's the importance of the language to be able to talk to those decision makers?
Very interesting question. A very interesting question.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
I can start. I guess like
Okay.
it's always better to talk to a prospect in his own language. He feels more connected. He feels more supported. He trusts you better, like more, and it's way easier to get a contract signed. Especially here in
Hmm.
Brazil, that when they buy a software from abroad, they have to pay a ton of taxes. So we talk to them in Portuguese, and now we've come up with a solution for them not to pay the taxes with ConPay. We can talk about this subject later on. But the more that you make yourself, or the more that you present yourself for the customer as one of their own, then you're gonna be more successful. So in this sense, you have to talk their language.
Hmm.
It's no problem to go in calls to translate. We have started a lot of deals, enterprise deals, bringing technology from abroad to Brazil just by translating calls. We will jump in a call, translate the English to Portuguese and Portuguese to English, and then
Hmm.
creating these connections slowly, slowly, getting trust, and then evolving to something that it's fully Portuguese or fully Spanish. But I guess it's like very, very, very important. In the end, you have no other option unless, besides going with a local partner that speaks the local language. I guess it's the better option for you to explore the market. Uh, Diego, do you want to add on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I trust you. I support you. Yes, I really strongly agree with you. Imagining that in Brazil you need to say Portuguese. There's no option at all because most of, I would say in 10 cases, 9 of the 10, you need to speak in Portuguese. One of the cases will be just English uh, meeting most of the time, 100% of the time. But like you mentioned in the beginning of your talking, you said about to adapt for the language of the prospect. But I would say if you want to enter Latin America, you need to understand we are really like Europe, okay? A Italian would say that, oh, I can understand English, but if you speak Italian, it's better. A French, a guy from Paris, okay, a woman from Paris, she would rather have someone speaking French. We're not different at all, right? So basically, if you want focus on bringing leverage or even to increasing your business to have more clients in Brazil or even Latin America, you need to speak Portuguese or even Spanish. That's out of your mind if you do not speak like that. You need to do that. If you do not have someone, you need to hire someone like that because there's no option if you want to have success in Latin America and Brazil. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, in English, you're gonna have a very, very, very hard, like a
I
very hard
remember
time.
many times that I went in calls with decision makers and they didn't know that a Brazilian guy will appear. They thought the call would be in English, and when I come and I speak, I say "olá" or "hi" in Portuguese. They were like, "Oh, thank God, graças a Deus, thank God." because they were afraid, they were not themselves, and when they're not themselves, you create more barriers. So of course it can work. You can sell in English, but you're gonna sell much less. I think that's the idea of it. And you guys are
Amazing.
in the 5% because your English is very good, Diego and Ramon.
Thank you,
And
Marco.
with
Yours as
that,
Yes,
well.
thank you.
No,
thank you. And yeah,
one last thing for us to end it here. I always like to end with a funny sales story. So I'm gonna ask Marco and Diego, do you guys have a funny sales story to share with us about something like sales in Brazil or something?
Diego,
Um,
go ahead, and I'm will think about mine.
I'm trying
Just
to
one is
think.
okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to
No,
think about
I think
one.
I don't know if it's funny, but I think here in Latin America, and this is my final point, something that works really well is executive sponsorship. Executive sponsorship, by which I mean, if you're talking to someone that is not the decision maker, and you are in his same level, then you bring your director and make them bring their director. Because here in Latin America, uh, it's really, there is a lot of hierarchy. So if you bring your director, they will bring theirs. So in many of my deals, in my sales stories, um, that's what I did, and it works like magic. You say, I'm gonna bring my director, and you bring yours, and doesn't need to be a director, but a person that is in a high level, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes I
So
make this there. Sometimes I jump in.
sometimes Ramon is the director, but this is my sales story of how to bring the right decision maker to the calls.
Very nice,
Yeah.
insightful story. I always like to end with a real sales story because then we can see, like in practical terms, how it works. Amazing tip, amazing insight about executive sponsorship. I would like to thank you all, guys, for watching us. Our second live, we're getting better. It's our first live with a special guest. We're gonna improve for the next ones. I hope you guys liked what you saw today. I would like to thank Marco, my co-host, and also our special guest Diego for joining us. Thank you very much. I know it's kind of hard to ask you guys to join a live broadcast in English in a language that's not our mother tongue. But in any case, your English, guys, like Marco said, is amazing. And once again, thank you very much for joining me today. And I think we'll end here. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, guys.
Thank you guys.
Have
Thanks
a
for
good
having me.
day.
Have a